Bases dropped on a new edition of Soccer Down Here. I think it was a little extra bassy this morning. It's one of those Mondays. We're starting at 11:30 today. We had the pleasure, I guess, of watching New York City and Miami try to figure things out in the 9 a.m. kick. It didn't go all that well. New York City got the win. Miami starts their inaugural season with 5 straight losses. A lot of interesting conversations about that, and we'll talk about that as we go this morning. The New York City win by the margin they did. It's actually a good thing for Atlanta United because any win for Atlanta combined with no draw for Red Bulls and Cincinnati, because that would mean Atlanta would finish 4th and they'd be eliminated. If Atlanta wins and you don't have a draw in Red Bulls and Cincinnati, then Atlanta will finish ahead of New York City with any win. So that's a good thing. That gives you one group that you're ahead of. You're basically trying to get into 3rd place and be in the group of 4 out of 5 to go through. And we'll see what happens. You got to beat Columbus first, and that's the number one thing here. We can play scenarios all day long. None of it matters if you don't beat Columbus, and things have to be better to beat Columbus because they've been very good. Lots of stuff to talk about as well around the world. We'll get caught up on all of that, and wherever you guys want to take it, we'll go there with you this morning. So you can join in via Twitch, twitch.tv/soccerdownhere. You can send us questions there. You can also just jump into the chat on the stream. It gets pretty entertaining at times. You can also tweet at us at soccerdownhere. You can also send us an email, soccerdownhere@gmail.com. If you're old school, we'll take that too. So lots of things to get into from the weekend. John, where do you want to start from the weekend?
Ooh, from the weekend. Wow. See, I mean, for me,
where do you want to start, period? I don't want to confuse you on a Monday morning.
No. I mean, because I have a list of things, plus this morning, plus the NWSL.
Pick one and run.
Why don't we, I want to start with the twos, but
Start with the twos. I ask you to start.
But yeah, okay, so then let's start with the twos. It was good to be back at the fraction.
Man, that was not a difficult start to the show, John. I know, I'm a little worried.
It was a multiple choice test. I have all of my notes. For those watching on Twitch, I have 3, 6, 9, 12 windows open on one computer. I have
maybe that's why your connection is so bad.
I have my phone open to lots of other things. Charlotte decided that they were going to eliminate one of our favorites, but no, let's start with the twos. It was good to be back at the fraction.
Yeah, it was a fun one on Saturday night. Disappointing in terms of the result at the end, but performance was really good. I thought the team played well, and with an average age of 19.6 years old, a 15-year-old starting, a 16-year-old man of the match. I'll take that every single day with that team. 7 products of the Atlanta United Academy. Really impressive. And for a group that has no MLS players in it right now, because typically with the twos, you have some guys from the first team who get minutes. Lawrence Wyke, George Campbell, we haven't seen them in this tournament. They would have shored up the back line a little bit. A lot of players who would be getting some time with Atlanta United, too. They're not available right now. They're all in the bubble. So Stephen Glass is making it work with a very young group against veterans. And you go back and you look at the performances this year. Game 1, narrow loss, 1-0. Then you skip ahead 4 months and narrow 2-1 loss in Tampa Bay with 10 men for 83 minutes. Not an excuse, but 83 minutes of playing with 10, and you had a 1-0 lead for a pretty long stretch of that, and ended up falling 2-1. And then no excuse for the result on Saturday. Did enough to win, should have won. Fell asleep in the late moments in each half. Happens to young teams. Have to learn from it, but should have won. And that's going to be the part that's the disappointment from Saturday. The performance, which is what you're looking for more with Atlanta United too, the individual performances, very, very good. Very, very good.
we can start from the back. You had Mo Jadama as your veteran back there, but you had Garrison Tubbs on one side. You had Matthew Edwards on the other side. You had Jack Gurr as your only non-academy product, I want to say, starting in the middle. And you had Coleman Gannon, who did some tremendous work. You had Jackson Conway. We know about him, not specifically an academy product right now, but has come through the system. And so there were
he's an academy product. I don't want to confuse anybody. He's not in the academy,
right,
but he's a product of the academy. Right. Absolutely.
Right.
Been there from day one.
Yeah. I have to work on my preposition.
I just want to make it clear because you've got some guys who are in the academy now who are new. Yeah. Conway has been there from day one with the U15s.
And to see him continue to grow, Coleman Gannon, a couple of different places. I know that you were really impressed with him when he slid outside to outside back in the second half. For me, it was good to see all of them together and to see them in game situations. And I've got to give Matthew Edwards a lot of credit for what he did at the back in the match on the weekend. But yeah, I look at Coleman Gannon specifically as one of the guys that we're paying attention to.
Well, Gannon was the man of the match, and I thought he deserved it. Jackson Conway was really good. Philip Goodrum, who is out of college, UNC Wilmington, combined well with Conway. I thought those two had a really good understanding of one another. The goal was a nice goal that Conway scored with the two of them combining. Johnny Fortune, in his first USL start, was steady, really, really steady. I thought Caleb Wiley, out of the roughly 60 minutes he played, I think about 45 were really good. And for a 15-year-old, going up against a player with 4 years of college experience in Mark Segbers and really limiting his effectiveness going forward and getting in behind him a few times, you'll take that every single day. This is all about getting those opportunities to learn and experience, and it was very good. The performance was very good. The last phases of each half were not good, and that's where the next opportunity is to learn. That's what has to get better. Have to see games out, have to see halves out. But it's a good day for Atlanta United, too, when you start a lineup that is under 20 years old on average and has 7 academy products in it. That's the goal for Atlanta United, too. So I hope you're able to check games out for the rest of the season. Friday night, they're in Charleston, and we will be doing a watch-along here on Twitch for the Twos match in Charleston. So we'll talk through it from the Atlanta perspective, but we'll all watch it together on Friday night.
Yep, and it'll be interesting to see how they respond once again to going on the road. And Patriots Point, Charleston lost to Birmingham on the weekend. It was 2-1 there. They've unveiled Patriots Point as their new home instead of being at MUSC Health. So they moved everything back downtown. And I want to see how the guys respond coming back on 5 days rest and a roadie.
Bernd Dursberger said, fantastic job calling the Atlanta United 2 game. John has become an excellent soccer play-by-play guy. Love listening to his call. Kudos to me for calling out USL refs. It's time somebody would say something. Demianchuk was just strange with the way he managed the match, and it's both ways. It wasn't an Atlanta United thing. It was just a very strange way of man management. And it's not the first time. We've seen this before with him. The way he concluded the match was bizarre. It was a free kick for Memphis, and not even just that, it was a free kick that saw a yellow card issued to the Atlanta player for the foul. Lamine Jaunet with an intentional foul to break up a counterattack for Memphis. It's just inside the attacking half. It's right at the time that was added on for stoppage time. I think he blew the whistle at 6:03 past 90, and it was 6. The foul happened before you got to the 6-minute mark. Even still, I can think of like 1 or 2 times I've seen anything like that, and it was never with that kind of an opportunity. It's not a super dangerous free kick, but it was a counter that was taken away from you by a yellow card foul, and you have a free kick to put one inside the 18, and you've scored late in each half. Memphis absolutely should have been furious. It was bizarre to see the game end like that, but it went with some of the other management. But this is the big term question for U.S. Soccer and for Pro, who oversees the USL referees as well. It has to be better at all levels. You need more referees in the system. You need a development plan. You have a coaching education plan. You have a player development plan. You don't, unless it's a big secret, you don't really have a referee development plan. It shows. The game is improved. There's more games at the lower division professional level than ever before. These referees need more support. It doesn't feel like there's development happening. It feels like once you see guys come in and move up the level, they are who they are by the time they get to USL. That shouldn't be the case. They should still be improving once they get there. When they get to MLS, they shouldn't be the finished product. They should continue to develop because you're going to get younger referees getting into those moments. They need help to develop. It's not just, let's yell at referees because they're all bad. No, it's they have no support. They don't have enough support to get better. We don't want to see the situation where the referee becomes the conversation. Referees don't want to be the conversation for the most part. You need help to make it better. And U.S. Soccer has a lot on its plate, but they cannot forget about the referees. It needs to be better. And my biggest concern right now in that frame of it is you're going to have some referees who would be moving up the ladder. And look, these referees aren't full-time. They work jobs. Jobs are going to be interesting on the other side of this pandemic. Are you going to have some referees who are promising young referees who you would like to see continue to develop not be refereeing anymore? Because they can't. They can't afford to. Are you going to have some who can't put that time in to do it? I worry about that. Because we don't need to lose anybody else. We need more support to make it better and better and better and better. So U.S. Soccer cannot forget about the referees in terms of dealing with the pandemic, but also in terms of making the game as a whole better. It's got to be better. And it's not an attack on Demjanjuk. That conclusion of the match was bizarre. The way he managed the match was bizarre. It's not the first time we've seen it. You need more referees so there's competition to get these games, and you need people to be in place. In terms of development, you need former referees. You need Mark Geiger talking to these guys. And I know some people don't like Mark Geiger. Mark Geiger is a FIFA referee for a long time. He's been there and done that and seen stuff that none of the rest of us have in his job. You need him talking to USL referees, talking to League One referees, and talking about these kinds of situations that happen, because that's how you get better. Doesn't really feel like any of that's in place, and it has to be going forward.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bizarre ending. You'd gotten to 6:03. Reese Buckmaster is sitting there, and he's getting ready to send in a long ball into the box, and then Demjanjuk blows his whistle. Buckmaster turns to him. Demjanjuk literally points to his watch and starts walking off the other way. Sergey had gone past his 6 minutes, and he was gone. But yeah, it was a very bizarre ending.
You don't normally see it handled that way, and it was odd. It needs to be addressed and talked about. I mean, the referee can stop it whenever he wants. The referee's in charge of the clock. It just usually doesn't happen like that. And like I said, it's not just about that situation. The game was managed strangely. There were lots of cards thrown around that didn't seem to match the way the game was being called. It felt very inconsistent. And again, it's not the first time. So it just needs more support as a whole. And then we'll get better referees, and the games will be better. And the player development will be better. The coaching education will be better. Everything will be better. But the referees need that support as well to be better. Yes. And got to put the resources to it.
Yep. A lot of folks have been discussing combinations and permutations in the action after this morning. So a lot of folks were getting into Atlanta United talk. Michael Head this morning, he says, thank goodness we're not the first team crashing out, parenthesis, gallows humor.
Man, that's where we're at these days now is just trashing everything. I get it. Everybody's down. I understand. Couple things with how this works out now. So You get the result. This is a good one for Atlanta United. You got to beat Columbus on Tuesday, no questions asked. That's not going to be easy, but that's the part you can control. You can't have Red Bulls and Cincinnati draw. If they draw, you're out because you're fourth place. You don't go through. There's not going to be much incentive for them to draw if you beat Columbus on Tuesday. Because if you beat Columbus on Tuesday, first place in the group is up for grabs. More so for the Red Bulls than for Cincinnati because of goal differential. But there's no reason to sit back and play unless you're Cincinnati and you feel like you can't play with people. And you do sit back because that's what they do. We'll find out. But if they draw, you're out. If you beat Columbus, or if you don't beat Columbus on Tuesday, you're out. But then there's a list from Mike Conti of 9 different things that you need one of them to happen.
Yep.
Again, with this result, this basically, if you win and if that other match in the group isn't a draw, New York City's out. Or they're behind Atlanta, at least. They're not out. They're behind Atlanta. So then you're going for 4 of 5. You need to be in the top 4 of the other 5 third-place teams. Pretty good odds. So there's a lot of different things that can happen that can put you into that spot. The one thing I will say is go back and look at the 1994 World Cup, which had this kind of scenario, had 24 teams. Third-place teams win through, the best 4 of 6. And go back and look at who the last third-place team was to get through. The lowest of the third-place teams that got through in 1994 was Italy. They went to the final. You get into the dance, you can make some things happen. This team's got to play a lot better to do that. But if you can get in, all bets are off. Anything can happen. Depends on your matchups and depends on how you play. But you got to start building momentum on Tuesday. None of the rest of it matters. You can't be worrying about it too much. You've got to beat Columbus, which will not be easy because Columbus and Philadelphia, in my mind, have been the 2 most impressive teams in the tournament. So you've got to be better than you've been in this tournament to beat Columbus. None of the rest of it matters. If you get through, it's a bonus.
In looking at the timeline this morning, we have Jason Nix who's in. He says, I'm not even worrying about what else, in quotes, has to happen for Atlanta United to advance because I sadly have little to no faith that we're beating the Crew tomorrow. Hoping I'm wrong and a win, whether it gets us through or not, is the lift this team needs badly right now.
You just can't get distracted by all the other stuff right now because it doesn't matter if you don't win. And even more than that, for me, I want to see a stronger performance. I want to see the team look sharper. I want to see whatever weird things that we've seen so far in matches, whether it's an early goal, whether it's a first-half red card. I'd like to see this team get to play straight up.
Yeah,
straight up for some period of time so we can get a better, understanding of where they are at this point. You give up an early goal, the game changes. You have a first-half red card, the game changes. It's not an excuse. Don't even start firing it off. It's reality. The game changes at that point. You can't give up an early goal. You can't have an early red card. Those things are things that you did wrong. Don't get me wrong. But I want to see what this team can do 11v11 straight up with a team. The good thing about Columbus is they're not going to hang back and play overly defensive like we saw from Cincinnati. They're not. The press didn't really bother you too much against Red Bulls, but they're not going to do that. They are going to transition like the Red Bulls do, and that's where your focus has to be sharp. Your positioning has to be sharp because they'll punish you if it's not. We know what Darlington Nagbe can do in the midfield, but maybe more importantly, what Lucas Zelarayan has done and Jossie Zardes has done, and the connection that they're building, and then some of the options they have out wide. This is a team that can punish you in transition. We've seen so far in this tournament a couple of times that the Red Bulls punished you in transition. Brad Kazan made a couple of saves. You gave up 1 goal. Cincinnati didn't really punish you in transition. The goal came more than anything after a slog of a game where you're playing shorthanded for a long stretch, and you didn't close a play down. That's a little different. That's a different issue. But transition is where I worry about Columbus. I think they can really hurt you in transition, and you've got to be better than you were in those moments against Red Bulls. Now, you got better in that match. Then you played a completely different kind of match against Cincinnati. You've got to be mentally locked in to deal with transition moments against the Crew, or they're going to punish you.
Bartimus Prime in this morning. He says Atlanta United need a win, likely a multi-goal win, but we haven't scored a goal in more than 300 competitive minutes. Questions. How much hope should we have to A, score a goal against a team that hasn't conceded yet in MLS's back? And that's his first question of 2.
Well, back to the first part of it, not necessarily a multi-goal win. I mean, there's plenty of scenarios that you win 1-0, you're through. So you just got to win. You can't, in this kind of match where you have struggled to score goals, you have struggled to deal with transition, you can't be reckless early coming in. So it's not like you come in saying we have to score 3. You got to score. You got to score 1. You got to keep them off the board. Then see where you're at and see where the game is and what it gives you at that point. Repeat the question about what you need to do in the attack?
How much hope should we have to score a goal against a team that hasn't conceded yet?
Oh, I mean, it's got to be better, but you did create 10 chances against Red Bulls, who is a good pressing team, who doesn't give a whole lot of chances. You created 10. You didn't find the back of the net. I think there were a couple others that you should have done more with a chance. I really want to see what this team can do in an extended period of time with Adam John up top. That's where I'm at this point. Is I think he gives you an attacking setup that makes the most sense at this time. We'll have to see what's happened in training since Thursday, because that gives Mateus Rossetto, Manuel Castro more time to impress and to earn playing time over an Adam John. I felt horrible for John because he got his opportunity early in that game. It was starting to ramp up. Had to pull him because of the red card. You had to get another defender in. You can look back at it, hindsight being 20/20, and say maybe keep him and pull either Pitti or Barco. It's by the book move to pull him at that point, because you're looking for the 1v1s with Pitti and Barco. Cincinnati just didn't give you any of those. They almost gave you too much respect at that point and made it difficult for those 1v1s to happen. But I want to see what this team can do with John. I think it can work better with him. But you've got to be sharper in the final third. Pitti, Barco should come in more rested. They should have more in the tank than they did in that 9 a.m. game. John gives you a pivot to revolve everything around in the attack. Looks like you're going to have George Bello back in the lineup. He is more dangerous going to goal, I think, than Mulroney. You want Brooks Lennon's crossing to be a little bit better. Look, instead of for the back post every time, look for that cutback. Look for Barco and Pitti charging in. Look for the additional midfielder coming in. Those little things. The final third has to be better, but more than anything, I think just having a cohesive plan around Adam John can make things better. We just need to see it for an extended period of time.
And the second question from Bart was, how much hope should we have to beat a team who's a +6 in goal difference in their 2 wins?
They've been great. They've been really good. Cincinnati tested them for about 15, 20 minutes and then fell apart. You do have to remember that one, because Cincinnati got awful after conceding that free kick goal to Zelarayan. Red Bulls played them better, but this is not the strongest of Red Bulls teams. And I think what you're going to find out about the Red Bulls going forward, when they get a goal early, when they get the first goal, they're really difficult. They're not a come-from-behind team because they just don't have the firepower to do it. They've got to create those goals through transition. And once they get one, they can be even more conservative, sit back a little bit more, look for those counters and those transition moments. If they have to carry the play when they fall behind, it's not their best situation. You've got to punish Columbus for some of the things that they're going to give you. They're not a very physical team in the middle of the park. You shouldn't have as many of the issues with some of the fouling and breaking up the play. It's not really the way Columbus plays. They don't have David Guzman anymore. I I think you're going to have some opportunities there. They're missing Vito Vormgor. He's out for 4 to 6 months after an ankle injury suffered in Game 1. It's a step back for them defensively. Jonathan Mensah's been great, but Josh Williams, Abubakar Keita, not the same level as Vormgor. So you're going to have some opportunities to deal with there in the middle of the defense. I think what you've got to look at with Columbus is they love to get their outside backs really high up the field. You've got to attack that space in behind. Lennon and Bello transitioning from defense to offense is where the game can open up. But they've got to be on point, and they've got to be productive in the final third.
Cuppers had a formation question since you were discussing Bello and Brooks.
Mm-hmm.
He says if we went to 4 in the back, Cuppers thinks it would be Bello, Meza, Miles, and Franco. Would that leave anywhere for Brooks Lennon?
What was the question at the end? Sorry.
Just would that leave anywhere for Brooks Lennon?
He'd have to play on the right wing if you have him in the team. That's it, because, you'd have Escobar at right back. You wouldn't put him on the bench to play Lennon at right back. I don't think you have to go to 4. I think there's been a lot of talk about formation. Formation's not the problem right now. It's not. The problem is you're missing the player that the team is built around in the final third, and Joseph Martinez, and you're trying to figure that out, and you haven't figured it out yet. And you've been poor in transition. That's not a formation thing. I think this formation gives you the opportunity to have overloads on both sides of the ball when you are strong in transition. Because you can have a line of 5 defensively. You can also have one back defensively, as we've seen with Miles Robinson being the only one back a lot. It's all about the transition moments. And the thing about 3-4-3 is it's not for everybody. It is complicated because the transitions, the rotations are very important. I think it's something that gets better with time. This kind of tournament, not really the best setup for it to get there because you're still building. And you didn't even really get to build for 180 minutes because of that red card, which ruined everything on Thursday morning. So it happens, it's part of the game, but it ruined your plans. You come into that game with a plan, they're gone in 26 minutes. So that's not an excuse. That is reality. It throws your game plan out the window. You never adjusted on the fly. You couldn't find the way through, even though you had some opportunities to. They've got to finish their opportunities. They've got to be better in transition. They can't have the little mental mistakes that we've seen at times. And more than anything, they've just got to produce. They've got to produce on their chances that they create.
John Nason's in this morning, and he asks if we think that Franco is more suited to right back than center back, given his adventurous, in quotation marks, nature.
No, it doesn't matter, because you've got cover for him in the 3-4-3. When he goes, Meza can sit, Robinson sits. It's not changing it. You go back to that first goal against Red Bulls. Franco going wasn't the problem. Franco nearly won the tackle at midfield that would have prevented the whole thing. It's a 50-50 that both of them hit the ball and it pops to Barlow. That part's bad luck, but Franco being out of position there, if you want to call it that, isn't the problem. Because for me, the problem was Robinson all the way over on the touchline, Meza then trying to make up the ground and not getting any help from Bello. Those are the bigger problems. Escobar being aggressive, you want that. We saw this in the 3-5-2. This is not new for Franco or for Atlanta United. We saw it in the 3-5-2 under Tata. We saw it under the 3-5-2 under Frank de Boer last year. You give this freedom to your center backs to go impact the game if it's there. Meza has the freedom to go. Escobar has the freedom to go. When you're chasing a game late, they both go. But that's there. If you're in 4, Meza and Robinson don't really have that ability as easily, or if they do, you've got to have your number 6 be a true number 6. Right now, Mo Adams would be the almost truest number 6. Jeff Larinowitz is the true number 6, but can you rely on him 90 minutes every game at this point? I don't know. I think the 3-4-3 gives you the cover for Escobar to go more. I think it's actually better for that than restricting him. If he's a right back, it's a different conversation, but then you eliminate Meza going, and you need your 6 to sit deeper. Frank has made it pretty clear, and look, he's not the only one who subscribes to the theory of playing three in the back. We've seen plenty of managers do it around the world. He's decided that doing that gives you more cover and more ability to defend than going with four, and if your outside backs go and are very aggressive, not having that cover. I don't know if it's because of the types of defensive midfielders he has, or it's just the theory he subscribes to. I'll tell you what he told Mike and I day we met him, first day of training last year, before Franco Escobar was hurt. He said he preferred 4-3-3. That was what he was most comfortable with. And he talked about it last year. He didn't feel comfortable with it after the injury to Escobar. He didn't feel like he had a right back that would work in that kind of setup. And he's went around to different things. He played some 4-3-3 last year when Escobar got healthy, went to 3-5-2. That 3-5-2 at times played exactly like the 3-4-3 has this year. It wasn't this broad difference because it's really not. You look at the way the twos played the 3-4-3 on Saturday night. More of two true forwards. It was a little bit more, instead of a 3-4-2-1, a 3-4-1-2, but it was very fluid up top. You could call that a 3-5-2 if you want to. That's the thing. Formations don't really matter too much. It's about function. Escobar's not being limited in getting forward and being adventurous in the shape that you're in. You're not restricting him. And I feel like you maybe give him a little more cover in this setup. But more than anything, your transitions and your rotations have to be right to make any formation work. We've seen a few breakdowns in that so far in this tournament.
Group question from David Powell, whose Twitter handle is @WhoTookMyThrash. And I think the answer to that's Atlanta Spirit, but that's just me.
Wow.
Hey, it wasn't Mark Thompson and Thomson Reuters. It was Atlanta Spirit, and that's hockey down here, and that's another show on the network entirely.
Yeah, totally.
David asks, with both to likely go through with a tie, do Red Bulls try to win and expect Cincy to bunker? Do you think we get an exciting game without an early goal?
No, we already covered that. If Atlanta beats Columbus, then first place in the group is up for grabs. So I don't think it's a situation like we saw in the 82 World Cup where neither team wants to play. I don't think that really fits the Red Bulls style at all. They want to play a little bit differently than some other teams, but they want to play. And if they have the opportunity to win the group, they're going to go for it. They're not going to sit back. So, no, I don't buy that. I don't think they're going to come out and be boring. Now, Cincinnati might feel like that's the only way they can win or get a draw and go through. That's a different conversation. I don't think the Red Bulls do.
John Roper with a TV question from the weekend. He was noticing the @MLS logo was centered on the field that the @Sounders FC and @Whitecaps FC played on. I did not.
You were the one who was worked up about that, so you comment on it. I didn't even notice or care.
No, John Roper knows.
No, I know. But you're the one who's talked about the logos being off-centered before. I never even noticed them.
I didn't. I thought I saw the Adidas logo on the pitch last night for Seattle and Vancouver. I didn't notice the MLS logo on the field.
It wasn't on the field. It was on the wall behind it.
Well, when he says centered on the field, I'm thinking on the pitch physically.
It's never been on the field.
So, yeah, it's just, I've always seen the Adidas logo right there, and it doesn't bug me. It's there.
I think there's something Weasley going on.
There definitely is,
what, Dave? What's Weasley? just because the fact that when they first start the tournament, the Adidas logo is the size of Saturn in the center circle.
Yes.
And then they finally condensed it. I mean, the fact that the logo is there did not bother me.
Nobody's talking about that. Nobody's talking about that. They're talking about how it's centered. And they were talking about the MLS logo that's on the wall behind it at midfield.
That I didn't notice.
Okay. You'd mentioned it before, so maybe you forgot. I don't know.
Probably.
I don't even notice that stuff. The only time I noticed it is one game where it disappeared.
Oh, well, yeah. It's when we're having problems with the key.
Yeah, I can't remember which game it was, but it wasn't there at all. And then I think there was a game where I did notice the Adidas logo moving, which was kind of weird.
Yeah, and I think that was, and this is TV down here, when graphics kind of start to wiggle and you notice, I think there was either one of the match or both of the matches yesterday where you could see what they were trying to to key onto the blue background and the signboards start to wiggle and they lose their focus, that means that the computer's kind of overheating and you need to reboot it. So that's why you saw all that stuff disappear. All you saw was the blue curtain for a while. Then it came back, and then it was back to its normally functioning self.
Yeah. They had some issues for one of the games earlier.
Yep. So that was, I just all of the logos and the sponsorship stuff, that doesn't bother me one bit because we see another thing. It's there. It's a part of the deal.
Ropes, I noticed it when I saw your tweet that it was centered. I did notice it. You're correct.
Okay. Well,
just go to the next question.
I am. All right. So John Nason's follow-up to his earlier thought.
Yes.
He says, that was a lot of information to digest, exclamation point.
Yeah, that was a lot. Sorry.
He says, you mentioned Frank wanting to play a 4-3-3 last year. Are you saying that Jeff is the only 6 in the roster that works for that?
No, I think Mo could too. Out of the players who are playing in midfield roles, Jeff is the one with the most experience. It's not even close. But I do think Mo Adams could play that role as well. Eric Remedi, when he's played as a 6 here, it's been different. Now, if you look back at his time with Bonfield, they played a 4-1-4-1 often, and he played the one defensive midfielder. But he wasn't dropping in between the center backs very often. If you think back to a lot of it under the Tata Martino time, when he played a line of 4, you saw Jeff drop as... he's a defensive midfielder. It would confuse people, and they'd say, "Oh, now we're playing 3 in the back." It's like, no, he's dropping in possession to build up play. Only in possession to build up play. But also, it gives you cover if at that time, if Leandro Gonzalez Perez went forward on an opportunity, then Jeff would drop. He would be able to do that now. Mo, I think, can give you that too. Remedi's not that kind of a 6. He's not going to drop into the back line as comfortably. We just haven't seen that from him. Heinemann hasn't played that role that much. Not here at all. He just hasn't played that role all that much. And Rossetto played more of the 8 role in Brazil, but I haven't seen any time of him playing as a defensive midfielder and dropping into the back line. If going back to John's original question about getting people forward and adventurous defenders, you want to make sure you have cover. So if you don't have the right 6 who's going to cover, you're creating a bigger hole.
Follow-up question, he asks, could one of the center backs step into that role if it's really a holding or sitting job?
You could, but I don't know if it's not purely a holding or sitting job. Let's make that clear with the way Atlanta wants to play. And I think this is where a lot of stuff gets really twisted. There's an idea that Frank de Boer's conservative and boring and doesn't want players to go forward. It couldn't be further from the truth, to be honest. When you look at the 3-4-3, if anything, he's risky to the point where I'm like, whoa, and I'm usually not that guy. Because he wants to get players forward. What he wants to do, basically, this is to drill it down. In a perfect game for the way Frank wants to play, you dominate possession, and you dominate possession in the other half. You see teams at times dominate possession, and they do it by passing the ball around in their back line. A lot of people have accused Atlanta of that. It's not the way they play. Alejandro Moreno said it today. It's like they pass sideways and they pass backwards. In the attacking half, they do. But when you just say they pass backwards, they pass sideways, you're implying something else. He wants to get numbers forward. He wants to play in the other team's half. He wants center backs, and especially he wants 6s, defensive midfielders, holding midfielders, to be able to step forward when the time calls for it. He wants balance. He wants cover. But he also wants to get numbers forward in a fairly risky way, to be honest. We've seen it work. Last year, Atlanta United scored the 3rd most goals in the league. They didn't have a problem scoring goals last year. I said it going into the season this year. They needed to develop that secondary scorer because the biggest difference in the goal-scoring totals from 17 and 18 to 19 Besides the fact that nobody scored that many goals in 3 straight years, first off. It just doesn't happen. You have a drop-off. The biggest change was you didn't have a big secondary scorer. In 17 and 18, you had Villalba step up with a good number of goals. You had Miguel Almiron step up with a big number of goals. You didn't really have anybody do that in 19. That's needed. That's needed with or without Joseph. It's more glaring now because you're missing Joseph. You need somebody to give you something up top, replacing Joseph. You're not asking them to be Joseph. And then you need somebody else to step up even more to find goals. You've got to go find some goals. So you've got to get more people forward to do it. But that means it's not purely a holding or sitting job in that 6. I think the 3-4-3 can do it. But what it needs from the cover side of it is Meza, Robinson, Escobar, along with their wingbacks, along with the holding midfielders. I know that's 7 of the players. You need to make sure that you've got cover from some of them at all times. And it might not be the same 2 or 3 at all times. But you've got to make sure you have cover and rotation. You're trying to create a team that has a lot of fluidity to it. And I think when we've seen Atlanta United be their best under Frank de Boer, they have been incredibly fluid. The New York City, Club America, Portland week last year with a lot of different faces in it was where I thought they hit that highest note of being fluid. You need to find some of that right now, because that's one way you can really make up for losing a player like Joseph Martinez, is if the opponent doesn't know where the goals are coming from, doesn't know where that run is coming from. If it's Emerson Hyndman, as we saw earlier this season, getting into the 18 and scoring goals, great. If it's Barco making a late run to the back post, great. If it is Remedi or Lorenowitz or Adams, another one of the holding midfielders stepping up, if it's one of the wingbacks cutting inside, you've got to have more options, even more now than you did before without Joseph. That fluidity can be the key. It's not there yet. It's not as fluid as it needs to be on both ends, in the attack with the rotations and defensively with the rotations. It does take time. You're out of time. You've got to get a result on Tuesday. So it needs to be its best that it's been in this tournament. And if you somehow get through, it needs to get even better in the knockouts.
Matt Wagner's in this afternoon. Yeah, I finally remembered we turned over to the afternoon.
Yay, good job.
Yeah, exactly. With Frank de Boer's comments on how he'd like to see Eric Lopez play with the first team, which scenario makes the most sense for that to happen if it can? I know several people have speculated how it can happen.
Yeah, I think this is something everybody's getting worked up about, and we don't know how it can happen yet. Because according to the rules as they are currently written, it can't happen unless you have a whole bunch of injuries to first-team players to allow you to do it. There has been some talk, and it came very early in this process. It might have been during the CBA talk. It might have been just after the CBA was announced that there would be loosened rules on loaning players up from your MLS affiliate to your first team once the season resumes in home markets. That was discussed in speculation from reporters. No rule changes happened yet. So my putting 2 and 2 together to try to get to 5 is for Frank to say that there's been talk behind the scenes about that as well, and this is a possibility. So the biggest thing that, and some of the questions have popped up in Twitch as well about Eric Lopez. Jackson Conway has more professional matches under his belt than Eric Lopez. They're the same age. Eric Lopez has played 16 times as a professional. That's it. That's all. To expect him to move to another country during a pandemic as a teenager and be completely comfortable day one, that's a lot. That's a lot. I think this is the best move, period, because he comes in, and I don't know what his time frame is. I'd love it if he gets here sooner rather than later and can play some with the twos to ease in and get comfortable being in Atlanta, being in the United States, dealing with everything you've got to deal with during a pandemic. Like, I don't want to put an expectation on him that he has to start and score 2 goals a game tomorrow. That's a lot for a teenager. He doesn't have a ton of experience. Just because he's South American, just because he's Paraguayan, just because of the price tag, doesn't mean he's ready to start tomorrow. And I think it's unfair to expect it. So give him some time. Be patient. The price tag is what it is because of the potential and the age. The price tag is expected to come good in time, not tomorrow. The rest of it, I mean, it's 4 goals in 16 games. He scored 3 in his first 3, and he scored 1 after that. He's a promising young player. Promising being the key word. So, slow down the roll. Just because he's South American doesn't mean he walks into the starting lineup, no questions asked. He's got to earn his time. He's got to adjust. And it's going to be harder right now than it would have been normally. Because, yeah, I mean, I don't know what his situation's going to be. I don't know if he's going to have anybody from his family that comes up with him to help him get settled. It's not going to be a normal moving to a new country and figuring it out on the fly. And Atlanta United's been great with players coming here and making sure they're taken care of. And you would imagine that, you know, the guys on this team who've been here for a minute are going to take him under their wing, and they're going to try to help him. You'd love for Ezequiel Barco to talk to him a lot about the experiences he's had and what he's learned and the challenges he's faced and how he's overcome those. You'd love for Fernando Meza, who's played in a number of different countries, to take him under his wing and help him get settled. But it's not going to be the normal thing of moving to a new country where, you know, you've never been to Atlanta before. You're going to have to do all that and figure out how to live inside of a pandemic. So let's give the guy some time. If the 2s is the best way for him, great. If he gets going and feels comfortable and does well in first team training, cool. If the opportunity is there for him to play for the first team at that point, great. But there's no need to rush it. There's no need to rush it. I think it's unfair to the player to rush it.
Fourcard Ahmed's in this afternoon, and he says, why do you think we haven't seen Hosetu in his preferred 8 position? Follow-up question.
There's a lot of competition. I think Hosetu was looked at as a Band-Aid for the front 3. Everybody pushed for Hosetu to be a false 9 or to play as a 10, and then I guess those pushes got deleted after it didn't really look the same as people thought it would against Red Bulls. But he's naturally an 8. I think he's an attacking 8. I think that's where he's most comfortable. And he's got to beat out Heinemann, Remedi, Lorenowitz, Adams in those spots. 4 guys for 2 spots right now, and if you want to put Hosetu into that, 5 guys. So that's not easy. He can do it. I think he has the ability to. I'll be curious to see how it looks in this one. I think that would be the best spot for him in this team, but I don't know who he pairs with. I don't know what the best pairing is for him. That competition for spots with this team is serious, and it's good, but it makes some tough decisions for Frank de Boer, and you've got to find the right group that fits together. It might not be the right 11 in terms of best 11 players you can possibly play and fit them into a position. You need the 11 players you pick to fit together the best. That's more important.
Then the follow-up question, who do you think are the best 2 midfielders, non-wing backs in the 3-4-3?
Well, those are the holding midfielders in that role. Like I said, it's not necessarily about the best 2. It's about the 2 that fit the best. You know, if I'm looking at Hosetu, he's not as strong defensively. He's probably the weakest of the 5 that we just talked about from a defensive standpoint. So you might have to partner him with one of the stronger defensive players, which I would probably put Lorenowitz and Adams almost 1-2. It's really close. Jeff's been really good in the games we've seen him early on. You just keep expecting he's going to have a drop-off, and it never happens. I loved his energy, even at the very end against Cincinnati. I think right now he's the guy. Until he shows he's not the guy, he's that guy. So maybe that's the most balanced pairing, is Hosetu and Larinowitz. I think Hyndman is better defensively than Hosetu. He's a little bit more of a two-way player. We've seen what he can do going forward this season. He's got a couple of goals. You know, if you pair him with one of the more defensive options, Mo Adams was that in Game 1. We've seen Hyndman and Remedi pair plenty of times. Hyndman and Larinowitz would be fine. I don't know if Hyndman and Hosetu would pair well. That would mean Hyndman would be in a little, or have more defensive responsibility than we've typically seen. Now, he played that kind of role in Scotland, so it's not, completely abnormal for him. We just haven't seen it here. Remedi, I think, is the most complete. He can affect the game the best both ways. So he can kind of pair with anybody, but if I had to pick, I would pair him with one of the more defensive options, with Adams or Larinowitz, because I think that gives you a little more balance. Remedi is not as good defensively as Larinowitz and Adams, in my opinion. The things he helps you defensively with are more hunting the ball, winning the ball further up the field. But if you need somebody to sit more, I'm more comfortable with Larinowitz or Adams in that role. So Remedi with one of them would be best, but if you're chasing a game later, well, then we've seen Remedi and Hyndman plenty of times. Could you see Remedi and Hosetu? Yeah, I think it could work. You're just going to have Hosetu, be able, when Remedi goes to go find the ball and goes hunting, you got to have somebody to cover him a little bit. So that's the way I look at those five. That's not factoring Walks into it, who played there more in his academy time at Tottenham. We haven't really seen it in Atlanta at all. I think saw it a little bit at Portsmouth, but not a ton. Meza played there for Necaxa some. He played there in the postseason late last year, calendar year, and did well. So it's not factoring him in there. It's just looking at the five that we talked about. That's kind of my mindset in terms of who to play, but you've got to pair them. You can't just look at, I think these two are the two best players. They might not really mesh together all that well. They've got to have some chemistry together.
You got your whistle and your whiteboard near you?
No. Why? Why do I need a whistle?
Coach. This is it's a coaching strategy question from Matt Wagner.
Okay.
He says, we all know how amazing Nagbe is, but how or who can diffuse him? If you were coaching, then how would you do it or try?
The thing about Nagbe that you have to realize, you're not going to take the ball off of him easily. What you can't let him do is affect the game going forward as much. If he gets his touches, his passes in his defensive half, fine. If his passes are sideways or backwards, fine, no problem. You can't let him have those passes into the final third. That was where he was really good for Atlanta. So you do it in a couple different ways. I mean, I think when he gets into certain parts of the field, you've got to force him wide. You've got to take away his options centrally. You can't let him deliver the killer through ball to Zardes, for example, or to Zelarayan making a run, or to one of your wing backs cutting inside. His passes can't be vertical. They can be diagonal out wide. That's fine. So you've got to do that in the ways you create alleys for him to see. You've also, you got to put a body on him. You got to, when you get a chance to take a look at him, you got to take a look at him. You got to put him on his back. He's not a big guy. You hit him a few times, you can affect him. I mean, that's reality. So, not to hurt somebody, but to make him know that you're there. You can't let him deliver those through balls into the final third. That's where he can be his most dangerous. The passing numbers are great. You just want them to be ineffective passes. You don't want them to be passes that can hurt you.
El Mataflo's in this afternoon with a twos question. And he says that he was talking with a friend about who might be the next homegrown signing for Atlanta United. He was thinking Conway or Will Riley, but watching the twos has me really excited about the academy and how much talent we have. What are your thoughts?
I I think Conway is the most ready, but also at a position long-term because of Joseph Martinez that he is the least needed at the moment. Where you would like Jackson Conway to be is maybe at the end of this year. I don't know the terms of Adam John's contract. When you get to the point that if his is a one-year deal or if it's a one-year deal with an option, you want Conway to make it harder to trigger that option. That's where you want Conway to be because you want him to ease into that role. But right now he needs to play. So you don't want him to sit the bench with the first team a bunch. You want him to play minutes. So he's good where he's at. You don't have to rush that. And you're bringing Eric Lopez into that mix too. So that crowds it up a little bit more. You want to keep him in the system. You want to keep him developing. And if that means signing him to an MLS deal, which is more money, but loaning him to the twos to where he plays, okay, cool. But in terms of homegrown signings to affect the first team, as to who would be next, Riley, we just talked about all the holding midfielders. He's another one who would be going into a crowded spot. You don't have to rush it with him. I don't think he's a guy who's looking to go to college. If he is, then you want to give him that opportunity to, if that's where he wants to go. So you don't want to sign him to a pro deal to decide that. As we've seen with Conway, you can sign these guys to twos deals to where they're pros and they're getting paid and they have the expectations of being professional athletes without signing them to an MLS homegrown deal. There is a medium step. Riley wouldn't surprise me if he's in that boat. Gannon is newer with this group, but I love the way he plays. I like his attitude on the field because he's got it. I like his swagger on the field, and I like his adaptability. That's what impressed me the most about Saturday. He's 16. Caleb Wiley's 15, and he's behind George Bello on that left side right now. There's no rush there yet. Garrison Tubbs, I think, is playing to push his way into this conversation. He's also committed to Wake Forest, and we'll see if that happens this fall. There's questions about what college soccer looks like in the fall. Tubbs might play with the twos all year on an academy deal, and that gives you more time to figure out what it looks like. I think that was the plan coming in, was for him to play a lot for Atlanta United to assess him. The other guys, I think, are a little bit further along or further behind. They need more time. Johnny Fortune, Matthew Edwards, David Mejia, the guys we saw in this match, other academy players, I think they've got time to develop. It's Conway, Riley, Tubbs, and it's still really early, but Gannon is one to watch. It's those guys that I think are next in line. That might be pro deals in USL. It doesn't mean MLS minutes just yet.
Question away from Atlanta United from Barnum's Prime this morning. And it's two parts. What if the U.S. Open Cup hosted the final at a set location every year like the FA Cup does? Where would it be, and would it make the tournament seem bigger? Not every final has had the energy like the 2019 final had in Atlanta. # Monday Musings.
The problem, if you do it in a neutral site, it might be 1,000 people and dull atmosphere. Because you might do it somewhere that people don't go. So you'd have to pick a destination type of site. You'd have to really work hard to sell it, to make it a big deal for people to go. I mean, you think about where to do that. The one that makes sense from a U.S. soccer perspective would be to do it in Frisco, Texas, because the Hall of Fame is there. Right. I don't think a whole lot of people are going to Frisco just for fun. That might not be the biggest selling point. You look at Kansas City with a great venue. They also have the big U.S. soccer training facility there. It's in the middle of the country. Is that going to draw people? I don't know. You look at Florida. That's definitely possible. You always look at your big cities and areas like in Atlanta, like in New York, like Los Angeles. I don't know if it's... I love the idea, and I love what the FA Cup used to be, with playing it at Wembley, and that was an honor. It's not even that anymore. I would maybe go the other way and I've said this about the MLS playoffs, but if you want to do it where just the final in the Open Cup is, do it 2 legs. And that way you get 2 home games out of it.
Yeah.
That would increase the atmosphere. I'd go that way for it because the country's so big that if you get, New England and Colorado in the Open Cup final and you play it in Frisco, I mean, you might have to let every youth soccer player in Frisco in for free, and then if they show up, that's nice, but it's not going to have the atmosphere you're looking for. Maybe it's better to do it 2 legs in home markets. You can't do the whole tournament 2 legs like the Copa del Rey is. You just don't have the schedule to do it. But if you do the final that way, I'd go that route first.
Yeah. And then a follow-up question with the hashtag, who do I write to? Bart asks, and how do we force the U.S. Soccer Federation to commission a U.S. Women's Open Cup?
Should have been done a long time ago. The NWSL is strong enough now to be able to handle that. The WPSL and other smaller women's leagues are at a point where you can handle it. You're going to have to subsidize it, and that's going to come down to money because you're going to have to pay for travel for some of these women's semi-pro and amateur teams that aren't accustomed to that. You're going to have to figure that part out. But, yeah, as the NWSL's shown, they found some sponsors during this. U.S. Soccer needs to go get a title sponsor for the Women's Open Cup and get it done. Should have happened a long time ago.
That is it for hour number 1. And what's on my end on Twitter? What's on Twitch?
Well, you always act like there's nothing on Twitch, and Twitch has a lot to scroll on now because these Twitch guys and gals are very vocal and have lots of things to say.
We like that.
Rope says you have no bandwidth left because you have like 27 tabs open and you're trying to do all these different things and you can't decide what you want to talk about.
Probably. Agreed. I will stipulate to that because asking me about anything that has to do with technology, I will just defer to everybody else and sit there and yep, you're right. I mean, okay, so let's just
sometimes I wonder if we're having the same conversation.
I mean, let's just talk about what happened before the show started this morning. I mean, for like the 98th time in the history of the show, I have a hard line that I have here in Office HD that I have literally plugged into my laptop. I have the desktop off to my right, camera left. I am staring into my laptop so I can have my 27 tabs open on a separate server over here off to the side. I specifically X'd out of my Skype program and restarted it, thinking that a fresh window would sit there and keep the signal when Jason dialed in to get the signal going at the start of the show. The laptop thought about it, kicked the camera off, kicked me off entirely. Yep. So my lesson is that I guess is I shouldn't have X'd out in the first place and I would have kept the signal. That's the technology. About normal.
Yeah. We were just talking about tabs, though. That's a different topic.
But still, it's
all
still
good.
It's computers and things and a lot of things going at once.
Okay, yeah, it's all good. Best team in the MLS tournament so far, who do you think it is?
Ooh, I've got 2. I've got Columbus and Philly. So, Columbadelphia. That's my number 1 team in the tournament so far.
I think Philadelphia's...
Or Philadelphia.
I think Philadelphia has been really, really good in this tournament, and if they beat a very good Orlando team tonight, then they're my number 1 seed. Okay. San Jose's right there too. San Jose's been very good. And
how many X's does Wando have on that jersey? We know it's a large, but how many other X's are before that L? Because that thing is a parachute that he's wearing.
It's not that big.
It looks like that if he gets up ahead of steam, he will purposely slow down because of all the air that will have been collected in that thing.
He's old school. He's not like the Miami guys who were in a wet T-shirt contest this morning.
I know. They were in mediums this morning, but I am all for wearing baggy stuff. I just wanted to know how big and baggy you thought Wando's jersey was.
I don't think it's that baggy. I don't even know if it's a large. I think it might be a large. He always does the... I haven't been able to tell. I don't know if he's got like the long sleeve compression underneath, or if he's just got the sleeve part on it, because he's always got like the 3/4 underneath his jersey. Now you get a little bit older, you need that extra support and stuff. It happens. I can relate. So Wando just keeps doing the business. Doesn't matter what he's wearing. He just keeps doing the business. Comes on, first touch, goal. That's what he does. I hope all young American up-and-coming soccer players, not even just forwards, are studying that guy, because he is the consummate professional. And when you look at MLS in its 25th year and what to celebrate, Chris Wondolowski's career is what you celebrate. A guy like that is what you celebrate, and that's what this league is here for. Just an amazing professional, and that San Jose team has an amazing spirit. It's all from Matias Almeida and the vibe that he has created with that group. They're not perfect. They didn't make the playoffs last year, so slow down. They're also not boring, as some people have tried to say in this tournament. I don't know where that comes from.
Yeah.
No, people said it. It's happened. Like, people are like, "Oh, this game needs something to pick it up." The game with Seattle, it didn't have anything in it. It had like 15 shots on target. Goalkeepers made 8 and 7 saves. The first half last night had entertaining things happening in it, even without goals. I really like the way the San Jose team plays. They combine a possession style, because they dominate possession, with a really aggressive mindset. Super risky. Atlanta can be risky at times with their positioning. San Jose does not care about what the word risk means. They just throw everybody forward, and they go into everything, and they'll shoot from anywhere. And that's the mentality that they have. Is that going to win a title? I don't know. I don't know if it is. But in a tournament like this, and Dylan Butler told us this on 92.9 in our tournament preview. Dylan writes for MLSsoccer.com. He said that Matias Almeida is the best tournament coach in this field. You saw it with CONCACAF Champions League with Chivas. Part of it is that spirit that he creates in the group. That's perfect for a tournament format. This team would run through a wall for one another, and you need that in this kind of atmosphere. You need that with some of these conditions that players are playing through. You need it, and it's there. San Jose is a blast, and I can't wait to watch them next. A lot of conversation about Columbus and Philly as well. I think Philadelphia, there's a link on our Twitter from yesterday. There's a link on our website at soccerdownhere.net for the Coach's Voice Academy. They've been doing conversations with coaches, and I love that they're including MLS coaches in this and American coaches in this. They had Jesse Marsh talk about his time with the Red Bulls, but also his time at Salzburg. They had Dome Tarrant, who talked a lot about his time with New York, but also being an assistant for Pep Guardiola. They just had Jim Curtin on for 2 parts, and I love the mentality that Curtin has, because he's not doing a carbon copy of what the Red Bulls do, but he's learning things from that Red Bull pressing style, and he's adapting it to the way he sees and feels the game. And he talked about, when he first started coaching, and you go back and look at those Philadelphia teams at that time, pretty rigid, 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1, rigid. Like, that was how they played. They didn't shift. That was exactly what they did. Now he's moved it into a 4-4-2 diamond, which is, not abnormal, but not typical. So, Coach's Voice Academy, when you get those kinds of conversations going, it's really good. The more that I see Philly, and the more that I hear Jim Curtin talk about the way he wants his team to play, Philly is going to be a team to watch. Now, the question about the Union is always going to be, do they have enough talent? Do they have the resources available? For the longest time, Curtin didn't have that, and people wanted to run him out of town because he wasn't getting results. He didn't have the players to get results. Now he's got more investment. They're never going to spend like Atlanta. They're never going to spend like LA or Miami. They've got to get their signings right. But they went out and they got Shamiro Montero. They went out and they got Kasper Shabilko. 2 names that, other clubs might not even be looking at. But they paid some money for those guys, and they're great fits. So you've got to get that part right, more so than a team with money. Right now they have. If they can hold up, they're a team that can win this, and they're a team that can win MLS Cup, in my opinion. But if you want to learn more about Curtin and the way he feels the game and the other good stuff at Coach's Voice, follow the link on our Twitter, follow the link on our website. It's a referral for us. It does help us a little bit do what we do, but I wouldn't be recommending it to you if I didn't subscribe myself. It's really worthwhile, and you get lesson plans if you're a coach, socially distanced lesson plans right now, how to handle the pandemic, but you also get a lot of insight from coaches. That's the part that I like the best, so highly recommended. Okay, I'm going to bounce around a little bit because Twitch has had a lot of things, and Atlanta Phoenix will start us off over here.
Yep.
With Charlotte being delayed until 2022, do you think Nashville will remain in the East? Seems easiest option since conference will be unbalanced. Bring on the Southern Soul Derby. I think so. That would make sense. Austin will come into the West, so yeah, I'm good with that. I hope they do that. We'll see. But yeah, I ultimately Atlanta and Nashville will be in the same conference, and if they go to divisions, I think they'll be in the same division, and that will be good to see them twice a year and go back and forth because I'm with you. I think it'll be a great derby. I think it'll be a great rivalry.
I mean, you think about literally, all you have to do for a reference point is think about that first match and how many fans took the 4-hour drive from Atlanta to go up to Nashville to see what was going on. Even though it was the first home match for Nashville and all that kind of stuff, I think that the way that Atlanta fans showed out is a good microcosm for what it will be.
I'm not there yet because Atlanta fans will travel everywhere. We see them everywhere. I think the chest is going to be with Nashville fans travel to Atlanta when that happens. That's where you'll see if it's a true rivalry because we see Atlanta fans everywhere around the country. That's what's crazy about it. Burns says, love everything about Atlanta United 2 this season. They showed more fight down a man against Rowdies than the first team against Cincinnati. Burns says smarter tactics too. Different situation. Very different situation because of the way the opponents played it. So I think the tactics you can't compare. Cincinnati, for some reason, decided not to come out and play with a man advantage. It worked for them. They ended up getting the result. So, I mean, it is what it is. But you would have expected them to. Tampa Bay being at home and having some fans in the building, they couldn't sit back like Cincinnati. So Atlanta, too, had to handle it differently. It's two different games. It's hard to compare like for like. But I do like the scrappiness that this young 2 side has. You don't always see that with young teams when they face adversity. We're seeing that with Atlanta United too, but we need to see more sharpness late in halves. That's the issue at the moment. Kessie said, who assisted Gannon's goal was Jadama. It was center back, stepping up, carrying the ball forward. The opponent backed off, slipped it into Gannon. Gannon did the rest. So that's the part of playing 3 in the back that you get is for the first team, Escobar, Meza, Robinson, all have that ability to step up because you have cover. For the 2s, it's the same thing, and you're trying to get the same things across. So Jadama, Edwards, we saw step forward a decent bit. Tubbs, we saw step forward a decent bit. You can do that, and it's hard to account for that player stepping forward if you're the opponent. Walchara says, sounds like Atlanta United 2 might be a must-watch, especially with Lopez in there. I agree. It should have been a must-watch from the beginning because that's where the next generation's coming from. That's the lifeblood of a club like this. So, Miles Robinson in 2018, you needed to see that development to understand what he turned into in 19. George Campbell, to see him get a first-team deal, you needed to see that development in 19 with the 2s. Bello, his time with the 2s got him ready to impact games at the first-team level, and so on and so forth. Lawrence Wyke, same thing. It's great to see those second-team players get that jump up and develop and get better. So Friday night, we're doing that watch-along with the Charleston game.
Yeah, you add John Gallagher to the mix with what we saw with Gallagher develop, and he goes to Aberdeen, gets to grow his game a little more there, and now he's back with Atlanta United down in Orlando. So he's just another guy. So, yeah, for me, it's must-watch. So you can sit there and look and get the early days and see how the guys grow into the system and how they get the opportunities to go forward.
Shooter McGavin, what's up, Shooter?
Shooter.
New England Revolution fan in the house. Talking about referees, said about referee development. That's never going to happen. They don't give refs health insurance, do they? They're not full-time. Like, they're not full-time. In other sports, how many sports have any full-time referees or umpires? I know some do, but not all.
I think baseball.
Well, they're working so often, it basically becomes full-time. It's almost like you're a teacher, where it's seasonal, but you might not work 3 months of the year.
Yeah. And I think the NFL was gravitating toward that as an idea. Like back in 2018 is when they finally did the full-time officials thing. So if it's not a sport that hasn't had it, Major League Baseball, it's a full-time gig. NFL did it, but only recently. So
hockey, NBA?
I'm efforting those. I will check those answers.
I mean, it's seasonal as well, so you're doing so many games. It's not like you can really work another job. Like NFL, you're doing a game on the weekend, so you can work during the week.
Yes, and yes to answer your question.
Huh? What?
Yes and yes to answer your question for both the NBA and the NHL.
They have full-time?
Yeah.
Okay, or at least full-time during the season?
Yeah, it says full-time. You got full-time guys being promoted in the NHL back in 2019.
Makes sense because they can't work during the season. So soccer's a little different because you've got some weeks where you might get a Wednesday game and then a Saturday game. Other weeks you're just doing a game on the weekend. Sometimes if you hustle, I mean, at the lower levels, you can do a League One game and then a championship game the next night somewhere nearby that you can drive to. U.S. Soccer has to put more to it. They have hired some full-time referees, but it's a small number. You're going to have to do more. But for me, more than anything, you just have to invest more in the development. You have to prepare these guys and women better. You have to, or the product's not going to be as good as it can be. Bernd Dursberger asks, do you think Glassy gets a shot at the first-team gig when FDB leaves? If not, he'll get one elsewhere. He'll get a first-team job somewhere. And it just depends on timing. There's no way to call that because you don't know what the timelines look like. But he will be a first-team manager in the United States or in Scotland or potentially in England. Like, he will get an opportunity somewhere. He's got the talent to do it.
Yeah, and I mean, we've even seen mentions about gigs back home in Scotland. So there will be those offers, and it may be domestic, it may be back home, but we've already seen those rumors that have been percolating early on.
Yeah, and it was a rumor. It was, I don't even think it was a rumor. I think it was a journalist trying to start something. So we'll see. Rope said, who starts tomorrow? I hope to see John up top and Bello in the lineup. I think Bello in the lineup is pretty much all but said will happen. I'm with that. I want to see John up top as well. I want to see, with the questions being the holding midfield, I want to see what we saw to start on Thursday. The three center backs, Meza, Robinson, Escobar, Lennon on the right side, Bello on the left at wing back. We'll come back to the midfield. Pitti, Barco, and John. I want to see that group. The midfield, you're thinking about Columbus. You're thinking about the way that they play. Nagbe, Artur didn't play the last game. They played Sebastian Berhalter, homegrown first start. Didn't shy away from feeding him. He was good in possession. I think you need some players there who can win the ball. You need some players there who can give you a spark. I like Remedi as one of those. And then I think the question is who's going to pair best with him. You know, do you want to go, as we talked about before, do you want to have Remedi be the more defensive of the pairing, or do you want him to be the more aggressive of the pairing? I kind of lean to the latter for this one to start. It's a 90-minute game. You don't need 3 goals in the first 5 minutes. I would pair Remedi with Larentowicz in this game.
Yep.
I think that gives you the most cover. It frees Eric up to go find the game and go impact the game going forward. We've seen him have that ability to deliver the killer pass from that deeper role I like that pairing, and then Larentowicz being where he is can step forward when the time calls for it, and he's done well in that. But also, if Escobar or Meza have the opportunity to go, Jeff can drop into that back line. And I think having his leadership on the field will help in a moment like this. So I'll go Larentowicz and Remedi as my two holding midfielders that I would write down on the lineup sheet. I'm not seeing training every day either, and I don't know how Jeff feels after playing in the sauna that was Thursday morning. And that's going to affect that decision. Same for Remedi. That's the way I would go with it.
Yeah, as you were talking it through, I had Jeff written down as one of my three for those two slots because of the Matt Wagner question early on about trying to figure out how to, clamp down on Nagbe. You mentioned sending a message early on about being physical, knocking somebody off their feet. Jeff's not afraid to do something like that. If he's your more defensive presence back there, your more physical and impressive presence back there to impress upon guys, it's like, here's the wall and everything stops here. Jeff, to me, would be that guy. Then it would be either Eric or Emerson Hyndman to be your more offensive guy going forward.
Yeah, I'd like to see Remedi and Larentowicz start, and I think that might be a position that you make changes as the day goes on, depending on what you need. If you need to get a little more defensive, you have Mo Adams who can come into that role. If you need to go for it, you can bring on Josetu into one of those spots. So that's just my gut feeling this morning as we talk about it, this afternoon now as we talk about it. Ropes ask about VAR in USL. They don't have that. Don't have the resources for that right now. Ropes also thinks Cincinnati will park the fleet against the Red Bulls. And, yeah, I think so, and unless they get guys back, which doesn't seem likely. Yeah, I think they will, and that's not a bad strategy against the Red Bulls because you're making them carry the game and you're looking for those counterattacking opportunities. That's not where the Red Bulls are comfortable. If they give Kaku too much space, he'll hurt you. If they give Daniel Royer too much space, he'll hurt you. That's an interesting tactical battle from the alternative of what I generally like to see. Because against the Red Bulls, the best way to disrupt them is to make them have the ball. You do that by sitting back and parking the bus. You just play it long. Play it long. Here you go. Have it. We're going to play off of you now. They don't like to be that team. So do we end up with just both teams punting it back and forth to one another until somebody says, this is stupid, let's play? And who does that first? And who changes that? And where's the pressure to change that? For me, the pressure would be on the Red Bulls in that scenario if Atlanta beats Columbus, because the Red Bulls would feel like they can score goals on Cincinnati to win the group. And that would open that door up. And then they would have to figure out how to play with the ball more and create more opportunities outside of non-traditional situations for them, which is all about transition. So it could be a fascinating chess match in a weird way in that one, but Atlanta's got to beat Columbus for really any of that to come into play. So let's wait and see. Adam from 816 asked about, can more than one team on 3 points get through? How many? It's a little early. Yeah, I think the way the games have played out in this, you could have a couple teams on 3 points get through. I mentioned the 94 World Cup earlier, in Italy being the last of the third-place teams to get through and then go into the final. They were on 4. Everybody that got through was on 4. The way this tournament's played out, 3 can get you through. I don't know how many. Maybe a couple. If Atlanta gets through, it's not going to be as the first or second third-place team. I think it's more likely the third or the fourth. I'll put my marker down on 2 3-point teams getting through.
Because you look at it, NYCFC in the barn with 3 points.
Mm-hmm.
They're -2. Chicago, 2 games played. They're at 3 points.
They got a game left, though.
Right, so they have a game left. Group C, DC United, if they draw in their last match, they could go to 3 points. Sporting, right now, is at 3 points. They have a match to go with a 0-goal difference. Group E, once again, we talked about Red Bulls and Cincinnati. They're both at 3 points. If one of those loses, if Atlanta United wins, then you're getting into 3 points there. and then Group F will not have a team with 3 points.
Yeah. We'll see. I think a couple can sneak through. Our friend Gustavo down in Buenos Aires, it is Happy Friendship Day, and he is not drunk yet. He'll have to wait a little while. It's early, even down there.
He said that he was going to celebrate quietly in his home, but with some bottles of Malbec.
Yeah, the man's got to work, too, probably. So,
okay.
Happy
Friendship Day.
Yeah, don't be pushing too much wine on Gustavo. Come on now.
It is the lunch hour. But he did want to salute and thank his friends, Atlanta United community, his IT community, and his Soccer Down Here friends, so we know. Ha, ha, ha.
Yes. Byrne said, also kudos to whoever selects Academy and Atlanta United 2 talent, and that's a combination. Bocanegra's involved in that. Glassy's involved in that. Bobby Belair was involved in that before he went to Charlotte. On the Academy side, Tony Annan, the coaches on the Academy side, all of it factors in. We have more bots in the Twitch chat. That's always fun.
Oh, so what are we botting today?
You want to become famous?
Depends.
Well, if you you can buy followers, primes, and views.
Okay.
That's what it says.
Okay. Okay, just checking.
Yes. Adam from 816. Every team besides Columbus has had at least one complete-ish show of a half. They are due for one or more, and they are. They also might rotate their lineup in a big way because they're through. They might not. That's the crapshoot of this. We don't know what Columbus is going to do lineup wise. Do they give Zelarayan the night off, or at least to start on the bench? Do they start Fernando Adi up top and give Zardes some time to rest? Do they just keep rolling? There's an injury question about Eloy Room, the goalkeeper. He was banged up at the end of that match. Does he start? I already mentioned Vito Vormgor in the back. He's out. Josh Williams would likely be the more steady option. Abubakar Keita is your developing center back. We'll just have to see. I want to see what lineup they go with. That's my biggest question, because the more changes they have, the more likely you get an ish show of a half. Because you change a bunch of stuff, it just takes time.
Yeah, that was the first thought I had in my head was the Eloy Room injury, and if we had an update as to what that was going to look like in net.
Walchara says, LAFC is so good, even without Vela. I guess having the same coach helps, but Vela is at least equal to Joseph, right? Just trying to rationalize what happened to Atlanta. Add this part to that factoring, because I think it has to be part of the equation. LAFC's played Houston and the LA Galaxy, who defend teams like they are a piece of Swiss cheese.
Mm-hmm.
The LA Galaxy are horrendous defensively.
Yes.
That helps a little bit.
Yeah.
LAFC hasn't played a team like the Red Bulls that are good and know their DNA defensively, and their whole game plan's based on being a defensive team. And they haven't played a team like Cincinnati that parked the bus and then continued to keep the bus in park even against 10. Galaxy and Houston didn't approach it that way. So that does have something to do with it. I want to see LAFC continue in this tournament. I want to see what they do against a team that makes it more difficult for them. The Galaxy was, oh man, bad.
Wow.
Bad. All right, let me see what else on Twitch we have not touched on yet, because, man, y'all have been busy, which is good.
Yes.
Ropes wonders how different the results would have looked if Dallas and Nashville had been able to play. It's a good question. There's no way to know. We will see on that one. Let's see here. Scrolling through. Questions about Brad Gazan. Okay. I don't think he's been a problem. I think he played well against Red Bulls. Can't fault him on the goal. You could, if you want to be hard on him, you could say his reaction was a little late on the Amaya shot. I think he was screened and it was unexpected, but okay, you could fault him there, I guess. I'm trying to think what else happened in Cincinnati that he factored into. I think he's been good this season. I don't really have a problem there. You do, when you're talking goalkeepers, Brendan Moore, I still don't know if we know exactly what his level is. We're still trying to figure that out. Alec Kann is a guy who can start in Major League Soccer, period. I think he can. Beyond that, when you start looking at the twos, you have Ben Lundgaard, who's been on MLS rosters and has been out on loan. He was with Columbus, loaned out both seasons he was with the Crew. He is bigger. I think he needs to get sharper, but I like his organization. I like that he's vocal. He's 6'6". He's a giant of a man. And then you have a very different young goalkeeper who's, at least getting into the squads right now, is Vicente Reyes, who has played for Chile's youth national teams. He's a goalkeeper that you're going to watch his development. And then at UCLA, you have Justin Garces, who was from your academy. You could sign him to a homegrown deal, but he's at UCLA. There's no rush to. So you've got goalkeepers coming, but I don't think Brad's ready to give up that shirt yet. I think you've got time, and you're probably looking at Kann you can trust. You need Alec Kann, you can trust him. He can step in. He can step in for an extended period of time. No problem there. Lundgaard is the next young one, but he's going to be competing with Moore. Both, younger for goalkeepers. They both got time to develop. You're still waiting to see, I think, what their ultimate level is. And then you've got two young guys that are, probably still 3-4 years apart in Garces, who's at UCLA, and Reyes, who's in the academy, the Chilean Youth International. So lots of options, but I don't think there's any need for a rush there.
Let's see. Oh, Matt Wagner has posted a photo. It says, actual footage from before the match tomorrow. And it's got Jeff Larinowitz with arms folded saying, hey, Darlington, come over here for a sec.
Knee him in the back, kick him a couple times,
Yeah, just remind him what's going on. Hi, how you doing? Good to see you. So, that's pretty good. What other stuff is going on Twitch? I think we're caught up on Twitter.
Yeah, lots of stuff. Gustavo with one, and maybe this is something we need to dig into at some point. We'll see how the rest of the tournament goes, and if we have a tactical day mixed in. Talking about Larinowitz and how he, under Tata Martino, would drop between the two center backs and give you that opportunity and build-up play. It's the Salida La Volpiana. It's the La Volpe exit. A lot of Mexican teams did it because of the manager, La Volpe, who's Argentine. But it was a typical way, if you're playing a line of four, to get three center backs when you wanted it, to have that six drop in. Tata used it in build-up. You would often see then when the team's building up out of the back, Larinowitz would drop between the two center backs. They would flare out. The outside backs would push up high. It gave you what your base shape is in the 3-4-3, which is, it's the same thing. It's instead of Larinowitz dropping between two center backs, it's Robinson as the central of the three, and then Meza and Escobar on either side, and then the wing backs pushed up high. So it creates the same thing. But you have to have the right six to do that. Not every six is that kind of fit. Jeff did it really well. We've seen Michael Bradley do that really well with Toronto. When they play a line of four, they don't always play a line of four, but when they do, he drops into that spot, no problem. Will Trapp did that in Columbus because he was that kind of guy that they wanted. Harris Medunjanin did that in Philadelphia because those guys were the ones you wanted to get those touches to start the build-up play. It's different. If you're playing a line of four, you need it because otherwise you can really press a line of four and take the options away. You need that third option. If you're playing a line of three, you have it already. So it's different conversation as to what your sixes do at that point. Let's see. Kefsi says, teams who only gave up 2 goals in MLS's back. Sounders, Red Bulls, Portland, Orlando. All of them are in a position to progress. Atlanta, same goals allowed, out of automatic qualification. Why? 0 goals. That part has to change. The defense has been good. Shooter, here we go. Shooter says, this tourney is the season. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. This is it. So you better go all out. He says sports can only work in a bubble, in his opinion. Hope he's wrong. He says he doesn't believe Major League Baseball will last very long. I don't think that is necessarily true, Shooter. I think that outside of a bubble scenario, teams and organizations, because we'll talk about college football and that being lumped in, they have to be vigilant and careful because, yeah, it's riskier outside of a bubble. There's no question about that. But it can be done. That's going to mean that players have to take on a lot of responsibility to limit risk. And their families are going to have to take on that responsibility right there with them. When you travel, you're going to have to be very smart. It can be done. It blows my mind that the National Football League, which has more resources than anybody, could take the Bundesliga's plan, which had teams traveling, and copy it over and make it fit for what they need in a football environment in the National Football League and have a plan ready to go. The fact that players had to come out on Twitter organized to say, there's no plan, we want to play, there's no plan, is unbelievable. It's lazy from the NFL.
Yeah.
There's no excuse for it. And if they don't have a plan, then no, they won't play. They can't get it done. They have to have a plan, and they have to really have it well thought out because it's not going to be easy. This thing about just sticking your head in the sand, no, it ain't going to work. And the NFL should be embarrassed about the way this is played out.
If the NFL doesn't play, are they end run here? Are they too big to fail? Can they get through without playing a season and still be the NFL?
Yeah, they can, but are they going to drag a TV network or two down with them? Because they can't. CBS desperately needs the NFL to play. I'm sure Fox probably desperately needs the NFL to play. ESPN needs the NFL to play and needs the others to play and needs college football to play.
Was it 40% of their content for ESPN is tied to the NFL?
Probably more than that. It's huge. There's no excuse because the NFL has the resources to say, all right, we can't do this in a normal way. We have to be thoughtful about it. We can create a TV product for this and still make all the TV money and all the advertising money that they make. Yes, teams are going to lose money, but they're going to lose revenues that they would have gotten if they had people in the stands. They're still going to be okay because the TV money is so absurd. To put that at risk because you're lazy is incomprehensible. It's shocking. So I think they'll figure it out and they'll get it right because they have to. There's too many people involved in this that need it. But, I mean, are they too big to fail in that sense? Yeah, they're not going to go away if they don't play this year. Like 1 year of losing every bit of revenue you possibly could, they're not going to go away. But are they going to do so much damage to everybody else around them that everybody else around them is going to say, look, let's get this done? Yeah. That's what I think happens. I think whoever is the absolute head at CBS, Fox, ESPN, is on the phone with the commissioner's office saying, bruh, what are you doing? Get a plan done. We need your games. We need this product. Because, you know, the whole thing maybe in this country that people haven't realized, that's what's happened overseas, is if the NFL doesn't start on time, if the NFL even plays at 16 games but doesn't start on time, pushes it back, even if they play them and it's behind closed doors, these networks are going to ask for money back. They're going to have to. Yeah. They don't have a choice.
Saw it with the Premier League.
And people are like, oh, well, no, they're not going to do that because they have a contract. Blah, blah, blah. No, they're going to do that. If they don't play, get ready for the lawsuits. Because that's where you're at. The NFL has no excuse. It's harder for Major League Baseball. We'll see how this goes with them. The numbers have come down in terms of positive tests since they started training and since they got guys back into a team environment. They are going home at night. They will start traveling. That's going to increase risk. I think you will see some positives. You'll see players being reckless. You'll see travel not being handled correctly, or you see somebody out on the road do something stupid. Mm-hmm. You'll see some because it is riskier than a bubble. I don't know if you will see a huge amount. The testing will be what will help with that if it's done properly. Baseball as a sport has the least risk because you don't have many situations where you're not socially distanced. It is the easiest to do in this scenario. Football is the hardest because you have more situations where you're around people for longer periods of time. Mm-hmm. They've got to be even more vigilant about the way they do everything to prepare to limit as much as they possibly can. We'll see how they do it.
It is disinfecting helmets after practices and making sure that all of the equipment is disinfected and taken care of. And
no, you know what? And maybe I'm wrong. But that's been where a lot of sports are. I think so much of that is outdated. It's not about contact stuff. It's not about surfaces anymore. Helmets, yes, because of saliva coming out of your mouth. That part, sure. But hip pads?
It's under a pair of pants. I mean, but anything internal is
pants,
self-contained.
Shirts, sweat is not even an issue. People are saying that sweat is not as big of an issue. It is the saliva coming out of your mouth. That's the number one thing. People have to catch up. Like, I've heard so much about it. We got to wipe down all this stuff. It's not like the training that college teams are doing. It's not about wiping down the exercise equipment. It's about not having people standing around one another for 20 minutes while they're waiting to do some lifts. I mean, come on. Mm-hmm. It's not about the actual dumbbell. It's about sitting next to somebody for that long while you're waiting to do it. That's the issue. And if football is still worried about washing hip pads, then come on. They're missing the point. But they don't even have a plan, so who knows?
Yeah. Let's see. We've got some action in the Premier League going on right now. Brighton, Newcastle, goalless. Sheffield United, Everton, goalless as well. They're in the 14th. And we have a match later today at 3:15. Wolves and Crystal Palace. Wolves at minus 222.
Okay, I'm going to run through Twitch quickly because, man, y'all keep going. I can't get caught up because we get on sidetracks and stuff.
Good.
Lots of conversation about Atlanta's shape and formation, about the expectations for the season. I do think the expectations are different without Joseph. I don't think they're as bad as they've been so far without Joseph. I think they need to be better. Are they going to be the best team in the league without Joseph? It's going to be a lot harder to be that. Can they be a playoff team and be a competitor for MLS Cup? Yep. I do think they can. But we haven't seen it yet. We'll see if I'm wrong thinking that they can, or if they can be more than that, or if maybe they just can't. Maybe they can play well but just not be good enough. I have higher hopes than that. But yeah, the expectations do change a bit. I don't think there's anything too crazy with that. Christopher Abel, I think this is your first time on Twitch, Chris. Why not have a midfield pairing of Adams and Larinowitz, which I'm not against? Let Pitti, Barco, and Josetu play in free roles up top. Have Bello or Mulroney, when not suspended because of a terrible referee call, and Lennon run up and down the wings. I don't think the referee call was terrible. I don't like it, but Mulroney put himself in a bad position. So Zhao made more of it, but Mulroney gave him the ability to do that. I hope that makes sense. Like, Mulroney messed up. Zhao exploited it, is maybe the best way to put it.
Great.
Lennon up and down the wings, fine. I'm not against Adams and Larinowitz together. It's your most defensively secure pairing, I think. I think Adams can step forward. He created the best opportunity for Manuel Castro on Saturday night against Red Bulls, so I'm fine with that. I don't have anything against it. I like Remedi going forward a little more, but I'm not against that. That would be leaving John out and having Pitti, Barco, and Josetu very free up top. Against Columbus, It's not awful, but you're going to have to dominate the possession to get the most out of that front three because you've got to have combination play to get good things out of it. With John, you don't necessarily have to dominate the possession as much. And Columbus will have a lot of the ball. So with John, that brings the crosses into the game a little bit more. That brings an outlet if Columbus steps up to pressure you a little bit. It just gives you some different possibilities. I would start with John, but if you finish that way, depending on what you're seeing, I'm not against it. I do. The Adams-Larinowitz pairing is good. I'm good with that. Let's see. What else do we have? More cover on the right side, according to Christopher Abel. Lennon likely can't start against Columbus. I don't think that's the case. Lennon has looked fit. Not worried about him. You do worry in that he's played every minute.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen any issues with him being exhausted.
I mean, he looked really strong late in the morning match.
Yeah, he did. I would like to start him. And if you need to make a change, I would put Escobar there and bring on Walks on the back line. The other option would be bringing on Gallagher for Lennon. We just haven't seen him at the MLS level yet, so that's the question. I think Gallagher is an MLS level talent. We just need to see it at some point so we get a better sense of it. And I think he is a right wing back in the system. He played a decent bit centrally at Aberdeen. Not bad, but I think it didn't get the best out of him. I like his quickness out wide. I want him to be able to get into attacking spaces a little bit easier. Jurgen Damm coming into the mix, as Walchara brings up, is another element that changes things. I want to see if he's a wing back or if he is maybe even a number 9. But maybe one of those attacking midfielders where you're asking him to do something different than get to the end line and put in crosses, which is not his strength. You want him to get in behind. I can't wait to see how they use him. Let's see. Ricky Ricardo says, K seems like a true 6 for me with LAFC. He's pretty close. I think K is best as the 8. But this is the conundrum with LAFC against teams that can exploit it. And Seattle did in the postseason last year. Atuesta and K are not necessarily defensively minded central midfielders. They're not physical in that sense. K can be, and I wonder if there's been work put in the offseason to get him to be more of a true number 6. Atuesta can be that, but he's more of a possession-based 6. He's not really going to get stuck into tackles. K has the athleticism, the size, the strength to be that guy, but he can also get forward, which you don't want to limit. So ideally, you want 2 guys who can both do similar things and play off of one another. That's where LAFC is. It's not like they want K to just sit. I don't think that's the way Bradley wants to play, which brings risk in, but there you go. Byrne said, too bad Will Vent left. I liked him as a passing 6. I liked Vent in that role too. I think Will Riley passed him. I really think what happened is Riley ended up being the guy who got that spot. I would assume that Vent was offered a contract, but it might have been an Atlanta United 2 contract, not a first-team contract. And Colorado, it seems like, even though they signed him or they brought him in last season, the expectation was to sign him to a homegrown deal as fast as they could, and they did. So I think Will Riley passed him. I do. And I like Vent too, but I think Riley has a lot of upside as well. Neither one was going to see the field very much for the first team anytime soon. So Vent's going to play more in Colorado and with Colorado Springs, and that's probably factoring into that decision as well. Man, I can't keep up with you guys, which is good. You guys are having a ton of different conversations on your own, which is awesome. So yeah. I am down with this. This is what we're here for. What do you want to finish with, John? Because we got a few more minutes before we wrap up, because we're back later.
Yep. Charlotte MLS crossed another name off their list.
Boo.
Yeah, crossed off Charlotte Monarchs FC. So we are now left with Carolina Gliders FC, Charlotte Athletic FC, Charlotte Crown FC, Charlotte FC, and Charlotte Town FC.
I would have kept Monarchs because I think it was the safest one. They decided not to. I can deal. It's okay. But I hope it's Charlottetown now. That's the one that I'm going with.
Yep. Did you see there's no Ballon d'Or decision this year?
That's stupid. That's stupid.
I saw that and I'm like, oh, really?
They're playing plenty of games. Like, there's no reason not to do it.
I know.
That's dumb.
So, yeah. So, and FC Barcelona decided to reach out on social media and tell the folks that, yeah, we understand because we know that there's really only one winner, and they had a picture of Messi with his 6 Ballon d'Ors.
Not this time. It would have been Lewandowski.
Lewandowski.
Yeah, this time it would have been. That's stupid. Come on, France football. That's ridiculous.
Really? There's word trickling out of Leeds, and Chris Ashley, I think, can probably put his hands over his ears briefly for this, that they're going to try and hope that they can re-sign Marcelo Bielsa to a contract. Rod Rosani, the owner, was on Sky, and he said that, yes, Bielsa's out of contract. We hope that we can get him to come back for the Premier League.
They'll get him to come back, but he's also going to say that you're not going to change the way we work. You're not going to say that now we're in the Premier League, we have to do things differently. That's the way Marcelo Bielsa is. He will come back, but this is going to be a way for him to make sure that he's got all the power that he wants, that he's in full control of the team. And you're not going to have somebody come barging in and say, you got to be more defensive, you got to do this, we got to stay up, blah, blah, blah. No, it's going to be Bielsa's way or he's gone. I think they'll do whatever he wants. They'd be crazy not to.
League One and League Two are telling the teams in League One and League Two are telling the EFL that they may not start their seasons because Bolton and Ipswich, who have been at the front of this, are saying we don't have the money for the COVID-19 tests, so we're not going to play.
Yep, and they're not going to have money coming in because I don't know when they're going to have fans in the stands. Yep. That's the other part they have to sort out.
Yeah.
Not a surprise. Not a surprise. It's going to be an issue. It's going to be a huge issue.
And Mauricio Pochettino apparently turned down the job at Monaco.
Good on him. I don't know if I'd go there either.
Yep. And Nigel Pearson with Watford, with 2 matches left, the front office and the owners of Watford decide to dismiss Nigel Pearson and his number 1 assistant with immediate effect with 2 matches to go in a relegation fight. Yes, you're looking fairly decent as long as you keep doing your thing, but a lot of folks are just saying that this was madness to get rid of Nigel Pearson with 2 matches to go.
There's got to be more to that, right?
There was discussions behind the scenes that Pearson was very rigid in his thought patterns and matches. If the team was down, he wasn't changing his plans, and they were just going to do with the game plan that they had going on out there. Players were kind of souring on Pearson and his manner, his bedside manner when it came to coaching and in-game behavior. So, there was a lot of discourse, and so now they're on their 4th manager of the year. 4th. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4th manager this season at Watford.
Not a recipe for success. And
no.
John Nason, yes, I did say that if Brooks Lennon is tired and cannot go, that you could play Franco Escobar at right wing back. I said it. I don't know where some of this is coming from. I think Brooks Lennon has been really good in this tournament. I haven't had any issues with his play. His crossing at times has been too predictable to the back post. That's about it. So the question is going to be this: are you better with Escobar at right wing back and Walks or Campbell or Wyke or Lorenowitz as a center back, or are you better with Escobar at center back, right center back, and Lennon at right wing back? What makes the team better? I don't think that's an easy answer. Because it's not just moving one player to a position. Like, you have to think about what that does to the rest of the balance of the group. I think he has every ability to go forward and impact the attack from the position he's in. And I think they want him to. So he doesn't have to be at a wing back to do that. And I think he can help you as a right center back too. So right now I think they're best with Lennon at right wing back and Franco at right center back. But If Lennon's not available, then the question becomes, what's the best option at right wing back? It could be Franco, and that means a move at center back.
Ricky Ricardo with an interesting question this afternoon. Ricky asks, the thoughts on the Blue Jays not playing in Canada and its effect on the Canadian MLS teams?
Well, they're not going to play in Canada. If the Blue Jays aren't, the Toronto FC and Montreal Impact and Vancouver Whitecaps are not going to play in Canada because they were trying to get special dispensation to travel back and forth across the border. That's why the Blue Jays are not playing in Canada. So that's going to affect what those teams do. We don't know what that's going to be. I mean, we know MLS is planning to play more games. That is the plan. Dallas has sent out communication to their season ticket holders about that. I think most teams have. There has been talk about what things look like for the rest of the season. But that definitely makes it more complicated because I don't know how Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver play home games if the Blue Jays aren't. I don't see any way that they do.
And Bart is suggesting that they play in Rochester.
Who?
Toronto. Montreal. Have them play in Rochester.
If that stadium's still doing something decent because it hasn't been open in a while.
Yeah.
And if I don't know, maybe. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But I mean, you're gonna have to figure out more than just playing games somewhere because you got to figure out a place for them to train and be based. None of that's easy.
Yeah, and so it'll be. As we go now, the Blue Jays initially were going to be in Buffalo, and now there's talk about Pittsburgh as a home, but there are 7 dates that could be conflicts, and so the Blue Jays are still looking for a home.
Well, yeah, they want to be in a major league venue, and Buffalo's not that, and Dunedin definitely is not that.
That lighting wasn't up to spec in the Buffalo Park for Major League Baseball, and so now they're trying to find a Major League Baseball-approved home.
Yeah.
So that's what they are. Programming notes before we go.
We'll be back at 7, the run-up. Suns, Kelly. Kelly's had work completely jumped up and taken all of her time for the next couple of weeks. So no Kelly tonight, but we'll talk specifics about Atlanta and Columbus. We'll dig deep into all of that tonight on the run-up. 7 o'clock on Twitch, on the app, on the website, so you can listen and or watch. Send us your questions for Atlanta and the Columbus crew in that one. We're back tomorrow morning. Normal show, even though there is a game at 9 o'clock, just because I got to get to the stadium at a decent time to get ready for the game tomorrow. So we'll be in normal time tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock till 11 for the show, and Doug Robertson will join us for that one. I think that's it. I'm going to go get some lunch, and hope you guys have a good rest of the afternoon, and we'll be back with you at 7 for the run-up. Mucho platiel.
Thanks for the kind words, Bernd Dursberger. Mucho platiel.